You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video. Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. As some of you know me on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Violet Memoir, Lucas's Path. Anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go! Alright. The rest of the afternoon should have been spent studying, though we didn't actually make any progress in Ari's work. Not that I think he really wanted to. He ended up giving me some very graphic recounts of his most fun adventures around town, despite Lucas arguing with him the entire time. The only work we actually managed to do was helping me with my own. While literature is definitely a strong point, he's surprisingly helpful with my other subjects too. I made the teacher suggestion before as a possibility, but he might actually be a perfect fit for it. He's helping me understand better than most of the teachers I had in high school. The night flew by so fast I didn't believe Ari when he said it was nearly 11 and he wanted to get some rest. But then I checked my phone. He was right, and I had multiple messages from Oscar and Lee. Neither of them were particularly interesting, just Oscar asking crude questions and Lee just checking up on the two of us. Ari wanted to get on messaging him, but I managed to get out of that. I don't think Lee would approve of me letting random people message him, even if he knew them in high school. Now we're lying in the dark. I'm still lying close to the edge, next to the nightstand, while Lucas is asleep next to me, facing away from me. I'm just staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. But if I'm being fair, it's not like I tried very hard. There's a part of me that's scared of what I'll dream of tonight. In the dark, this room is completely unrecognizable. The only sources of light is a glimpse of moonlight peeking through the blinds and the tiny red dot of Aura's digital clock. That blinking red light is so hypnotizing, I've been avoiding staring at it. I know I'll just lie there watching it for hours. I should be sleeping, but I can't stop thinking about the horrific things we saw today. How we almost died in there. How scared Lucas looked. Then a creak shakes me out of my thought. It sounds like it's coming from the wall across the room. It's so close I could swear it's in the same room. Out of morbid curiosity, I take a glance towards the sound of my blood runs cold. It's hard to make out any details, but there's a silhouette of someone standing next to the desk. They're short, closer to a child or feral animal. From the way they're looking, it must be staring directly at me. What do I do? I can't stop myself beginning to heave. My voice caught in my throat. It's not moving, but it's there! It's there! And someone touches my side, and if I wasn't petrified, I'd have screamed my lungs out. Its hands crawling from my side to the middle of my chest. Except it's not any monster or intruding. It's Lucas. He's turned over and he's beginning to slide up against me, placing his hand on my chest. In any other circumstances, I'd be fainting from the blood rushing to my head, but not this time. Though I can't deny that his presence is calming, reminding me that I'm not here alone. I look back at the figure across the room and... Huh? On further inspection, the figure is still there, except it's not a figure at all. It's the chair next to the desk, the same height as the child or animal that I saw. Was it just my mind is playing tricks on me again? This isn't healthy. I need to calm down and focus on something else. I'm overthinking what happened and fucking myself up. Taking a deep breath, I turn my attention to the warm presence at my side. This wasn't part of my imagination. His chest and stomach are pressed up against my side. After some encouragement, both of us took our shirts off. Took off our shirts and pants before bed. Much to my agony and Ari's infinite amusement, I could feel his fur mixing with my own, tickling my sides. It's so warm and soft. There's a part of me that wishes I just fought through Ari's teasing and kept the clothes on. Another part that's over the moon that I gave in. The only thing out of place is the fox's head, lying a bit awkwardly away from the rest of my body, blocked off by my arm. I could move my arm and let him fully cuddle up against me, but I might wake him up, and I don't want to do that. Though his neck might be sore if I just leave him alone. Pull him against you. I take a deep breath, trying to will away the butterflies wreaking havoc in my stomach. For some reason, this feels just as scary as the nightmare we just went through. This is just another way to hug. Why am I overthinking this? Ignoring the thoughts in my head, I slide my arm out from between our bodies, and with as gentle of a touch as I can, I bring it around his shoulders, but his head is still hanging back uncomfortably. Using every bit of courage in my bones, I pull the fox closer to me. Our bodies aren't just touching now, but he's actively resting against me, his head coming to rest on my chest. We're cuddling. We're cuddling in a totally platonic way. There's nothing else here, nothing. But my best efforts aren't strong enough in the face of Lucas's relaxed expression. He looks so peaceful and more beautiful than anyone I've ever seen in my life. Jesus, I can't act like it's nothing. I've got a major crush on this aggressive disaster. This wonderful creative force of nature that holds someone more determined and passionate than anyone else in the world. Second, y'all. Water time. Alrighty. I imagine I must look like a creep with the way I can't take my eyes off him. I'm so glad he's sleeping. If he was awake for this, I'd die. Thanks. The words sliding out in a quiet mumble is enough to turn my blood to ice, freezing my entire body worse than any blizzard could. He's awake? But maybe he's just mumbling in his sleep, right? Maybe he'll say something else. Except he doesn't. The only follow-up he gives is nuzzling my chest with his cheek, causing the butterflies in my stomach to go ballistic. Then he lets out a breath that tingles against my chest, air brushing up against my nipple. I think I might choke as my heart jumps into my throat. I can't even ask him if he's awake because I'd wake him up if he wasn't. I don't want to ruin this moment. He'd probably pull away, and there's nothing I want more than to stay like this forever. Resting my head against my back pillow, I let the tranquility of everything roll over me, and it's surprisingly easy to relax. I've never slept with someone like this before, but I've never felt more at ease. He runs his hand through my fur, and it's like an electric pulse through my body, forcing my entirety to go limp. Well, most of me, but I can't let myself think about that. Not now, at least. Pulling him tighter against me, I fall further into his warmth. His comfort is inviting me into the dream world alongside him. How could I resist the offer? A pleasant night of sleeping isn't something I get too often. It's usually plagued by nightmares or restlessness. I'm not bitter. Not really. It's just how it is. But last night, I slept like a baby, and as my eyes flutter open, I'm lifting a wonderful groggy buzz. It doesn't take me long to remember that I'm in Lucas's room. However, I don't remember the reason why my rest was so perfect until his voice pierces through the quaint peace. Morning. Oh, my goodness. I looked down and wrapped around my chest is a familiar face. Except unlike usual, he's smiling a wonderful grin as his cheek rests against my cheek. It causes my heart to skip a beat and my voice to get caught in my throat. He doesn't take offense to my silence or our positioning. If anything, he looks more comfortable than I've ever seen him. And then he brings his head closer to my own. I freeze up, but he doesn't do what I think he's going to do. Instead, he does something just as dangerous for my blood levels and nuzzles his nose into my neck. I think I'm gonna pass out. Thank you for that. I haven't got that much rest in a long time. Huh. Oh, right. I forgot he mentioned that he has insomnia and rarely gets any sleep. My blood is still rushing to my face, leaving me a little dizzy, but he's treating this so casually that it's hard to stay flustered. Me neither. It was nice. We should do this more. There's a part of me that wants to ask him directly if he means cuddling, but that's lost as he runs his claws gently across my chest, making me shudder as he breaks them over my sensitive skin. What time is it? It's nearly 12. 12? We slept that long? That isn't unusual for me, but I haven't slept like that in a long time. I really enjoyed laying here with you. Yeah, me too. I know I should probably be a little more shocked that we slept for so long, but unable to focus on anything besides the fox pressed against me. He continues to run his hand over my chest, eventually descending down to my stomach. I didn't realize how sensitive my belly was until I noticed his claws teasing my soft skin, enough to get me shivering. It's also causing something else to happen, something even more embarrassing to happen. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do, but he might notice it soon enough. One second, y'all. Water time. With how his claws have gotten low enough to circle my belly button, he might even keep going at this rate. I should stop him, right? My mouth feels so dry all of a sudden and my throat feels tight. It feels amazing, more than I can take, but the rising heat on my cheeks is just as overwhelming. Then he nuzzles his nose into my neck another time and I let out a little gasp. My whole body is tingling at the fox's touch. For someone as inexperienced as him, he's getting me going a little too much. I'm gonna keep going. I really don't want this to stop, and I don't think I'm alone in that. Lucas lets out a husky breath against me, and I'm pretty sure I can feel something pressing against my leg. His fingers are now resting on my pelvis, just centimeters away from the waistband of my underwear, and he's showing no intention of stopping. The moment they make contact with the only thing between my lower half and his fingers, I can feel my breathing halting in my throat. He doesn't immediately push it down or slide his hand inside. Instead, he runs his fingers along the edge, sending electric pulses through my body and making part of me ache much harder. His breathing sounds much heavier now, and it's just his head pressed against my neck now. The rest of it is looking down at where he's touching. I don't need to look, though. I can feel everything. Every little spark and ensuing inferno with those little claws are causing me. Lucas must have found his resolve because he begins to push my waistband down, causing me to finally let out my breath in a shuddery mess. There's no words between either of us. I don't think I'm even capable of speaking right now. My body feels so lit with sensations. I'm worried it might cause my brain to short-circuit if I tried. I expected to stop the moment he reaches my erection, but he just slides past it, pushing the underwear down to underneath my sack. He continues on, running those devilish fingers along my inner thigh as he does. Is he really a virgin? I bet Ari's given him tips before. There's no way he hasn't. Eventually, he brings them back to barely an inch away from the base of my and I can feel that sinking nervousness creeping back into my chest. This is gonna be it. The first time I've done anything with someone. But Lucas is hesitating again, though I can feel his hips grinding even harder against my leg. It's clear both of us are needy right now. He presses back into my neck with his nose one more time, but this time it feels different. It's like he's trying to get my attention. I think he's wanting me to give him the go-ahead. You can touch it. I hear him gulp below me, and then his fingers grab the base, hitching my breath once again. He's not stroking it, more observing it than anything else. He gets a proper grip on the thing, wrapping his hand around it in a similar way to how I've gotten myself off before, and begins exploring my length with his thumb. There's a particular vein on my shaft that's gotten his attention. He trails it all the way to my head, only stopping once he touches it. It's aching at this point. I'm dribbling past the tip. A drop of pre falls onto his hand. I don't think I've ever been this turned on in my life. This doesn't gross Lucas out at all. In fact, he lathers it over my entire length, stroking it slowly as he does. He even taps into my foreskin to collect a trail of pre. He pulls his hand away at this point and brings it up to his face. I can't see what he does, but the licking sound made it abundantly clear, and all that does is cause my dick to twitch more. Turn over. Huh? Turn to face me. It'll be easier. Okay. Both of our voices are barely above a whisper, and they're both shaky. It sounds like he's just as nervous as I am, even if he doesn't look like it. He's much more composed than I expected. Following his orders, I roll over to face him, unfortunately forcing him off me in the process. My hard cock ends up pressing against his bulging underwear, and it leaves a line of pre leading right to the tip of his bulge. Oh. Hello, cuties. Now that I can see his face, it's clear that he's just as flustered as I am. He's just keeping himself more composed, but his cheeks and ears are a dark shade of red. He starts to slide his body close to mine until there's barely a gap between our chests and our protruding crotches are more than rubbing together. Lucas! He doesn't respond, though. Instead, he reaches one hand over to rest on my chest. It doesn't stay there long as it runs all the way up and down my exposed member, which is still throbbing hard as a rock. 1 second, y'all. Water time. Despite having both arms free now, he's still keeping one covering his chest. I don't think he's trying to hide himself. More than that, he's just nervous and unsure what to do with his free arm. Instead of touching my dick again, he slides the thumb into his underwear and pulls it down as well, revealing his own member. It's a little smaller than my own, but it's putting mine to shame in just how wet it is. I guess I was a little too distracted to look at his underwear, but the entire cover head is slimy and he's just drooling out, Nickelodeon slime, yes, onto the back of his hand. It's just flowing out of him with no indication that it's going to stop. Whoa, it's so wet. It's always like this. I end up making a big mess. Does it ever stop? Not until I've gotten off or it's gone soft for a while. On really bad days, I have to switch my underwear or else it'll soak through and drip into my pants. To prove his point, he pulls his foreskin down, revealing the pink head inside, and it's more important how shiny it is. When he fully slides it off, a big glob, oh god, falls on... Oh my god. Ooh. Messy boys. The warmth feels nice, but this whole experience feels so surreal that I'm getting lightheaded. It isn't helped by Lucas pressing his slimy length against my own, the friction causing me to pant a little. It isn't until he grabs hold of my member and lathers his, juice all over it, making the entire thing wet and slick, that I seize up in both shock and pleasure. My hand ends up grabbing his waist for support, inadvertently pulling our hips even closer, grinding them against each other. All these new sensations are too much for me, and I have to lean my head against the boxes for support. He not only doesn't resist, but he leans into it as well. He must have been feeling a little cautious, because the moment my head makes contact, he begins stroking my member in earnest. It makes a sloppy sound that sounds so incredibly lewd that I can feel my cheeks getting hotter. His motions are quick, and every time he pulls that down to reveal the whole head, my hips pluck and I let out a shuddery breath. I'm dripping onto his hand, but after a while, after what he deals with on a daily basis, I don't think he minds. The fur on them is already completely slicked down, causing it to feel more like a lubed-up toy than a hand. He gives me one final full-length stroke and leaves my waist twitching before he lets go of it. For a moment, I think he's stopping before I feel his, yeah! Oh, no! I'm gonna do some editing. Oh, my God. I look down and to call the area between the two of us a mess would be a massive understatement. The fur around and her crotch are both slick with, and I can still see him drooling more onto me. It's a lot hotter than I expected. I never felt this kind of sensation before. I'm usually pretty dry until I get into it, but even then, it's nowhere close to this level. He brings his hand up to that before hesitating. His other hand is digging more against his chest, his fingers on his lips, making him look uncertain. So far, it's only him who's been taking the initiative, and while I appreciate it, it looks like he needs some encouragement as well. I drag my hand from his waist up his body, my claws pushing through his fur to gently run against his skin. His breath hitches and he shudders against me, leaning forward until his forehead is pressed just above my cheek. I don't hesitate to nuzzle against him, our faces sliding into place like lock and key. My hand eventually stops just under his shoulder blade, my palm and thumb rubbing against the back of his arm. I can feel him both tense and relax against me, his breathing climbing to my excited rate. You don't have to be afraid. I'm enjoying it too. He gulps and tries to nod, only to end up nuzzling against my face some more, sending butterflies through my stomach and a shudder that runs right down to my member, causing it to throb and produce my first stand. Oh, geez. Both of our eyes are on our members, and we watch it as it slides down to join in with Lucas's mess. The moment it merges, he regains his nerve, and his hand slides around the two of them. He gives a simple stroke, and my hips jolt from the tightness. I've jerked off a lot, but I've never had someone else do it, let alone with their own members squashed against mine, causing the space to be even more cramped. Like his previous nervousness didn't even exist, Lucas jerks us off at a lightning speed pace. Can't exactly pause it right here, so I'm gonna keep going. I can't stop my hips from thrusting forward slightly every time his hands collapse against the base. It only takes a couple seconds before I'm panting louder than ever and Lucas must have been waiting for it because as soon as his ears twitch, he increases his speed even more, pressing his hips further down into it. His hand is beginning to grip tighter as well, and I can't stop a strangled moan from leaving my lips. I'm usually able to last a few minutes, but I'm not going to be able to handle 30 more seconds of this. Is it good? He might not be making as much noise as I am, but his voice is so breathy it sounds like he's ran a marathon. Focusing more on him, I can see he's looking completely frazzled, and the claws on his toes are digging into his sheets. I think he's even ripped the area below his left foot. It looks like he's trying to restrain himself. Yeah, it's great. It's amazing. It's so good. At my reassurance, it's like he stops holding back entirely. His hand continues at a blur, but his hips begin thrusting as well, causing me to whimper and moan as a new sensation is added to the mix. Now I can feel both his slick hand jerking me out, but I can also feel his own cock sliding up and down against the underside of the popsicle. It's nearly too much for me, but I wouldn't ask Lucas to stop for anything in the world. His thrusting is causing Pre to fling everywhere, some even reaching my chest, and I know it's going to be a mess to clean this up afterwards, but the cloud fogging my brain is too strong. I was barely going to last a minute before, but now I can feel my edge approaching like a freight train, and now I'm not going to last any longer. Lucas, I'm gonna do that right now. He doesn't reply, but his grip gets tighter when it slides up to my head, and even slides one of his fingers, oh god, running it against my sensitive bundle of nerves. It's the last straw, my hips do one large thrust to join his own, as my toes curl and grip my teeth. My groans are muffled as I begin to shoot ropes against Lucas's stomach. His own thrust doesn't stop, and it causes one of my ribs to flick up against his muzzle, but he's too focused on the pleasure to react. My head swims and my attention is entirely on that surging electricity that causes my body to seize up and convulse against the fox, where I barely register his moaning and a wet sensation shooting against my own. I come down soon after Lucas, but is still going. Instead of thrusting, he's just grinding against my stomach as whimpers and high-pitched moans slide over his lips. It takes me a moment to notice he's saying my name as he cries out one last time, and it brings the heat to my face as it finally registers what he did. Lucas doesn't have any kind of revelation or clarity as he finishes. He just continues to whimper and grind against me. The number is shockingly still hard. He doesn't continue to jerk both of our... anymore at least. I don't know if I could handle going again, even if he looks rearing to pump another one out. Oh my goodness. Oof. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. My goodness, I got editing to do for this video. Anyway, y'all, thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave a super thanks, or a tip if you can, it always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!